Hi, welcome back. Today, today we're going to talk about Crowhaven Farm. Crowhaven Farm is a TV movie that first aired on ABC in 1970. It was directed by Walter Grauman, who is not really a horror director, but in the 60s he did do Lady in a Cage, which was a pretty good thriller about a woman who got stuck in her own home elevator and had all sorts of thieves and riffraff come into her house and just take advantage of her, steal her stuff, and all sorts of things happen. That's a pretty good movie. So I thought this one would be good also because it has Hope Lange in it. And she was the mother in Nightmare on Elm Street 2. She was also in Blue Velvet. She was also in Death Wish. So she's been in some good movies. This came before all of those. And this movie, let's see if I can zoom in here. Of course, it wasn't in theaters, so this doesn't really look like a 1970 poster. This is like a DVD release poster. It's really the only promo shot I could get of the movie, since it's pretty obscure. This movie is a movie about pilgrim witches. It's our sixth witch movie of 1970. Witches are probably the second most popular subgenre of horror in 1970 after vampires. We've had 6 vampire movies and 6 movies dealing with witches, although only 4 of them actually had witches in it. The other 2 were witch hunting movies with 0 witches to be found in the witch hunting. So anyway, this movie is basically about a couple pictured here. They move to a country town in Massachusetts, and after they inherit this home after a family member dies, and they weren't supposed to originally get it. The woman's cousin was supposed to get it, and when he goes up there to claim the farm home, he sees a young girl appear, and he swerves off the road and ends up crashing into a tree and exploding. So we have an exploding car in the first minute of the movie, which seemed promising. But after that, it kind of slows down. Of course, we get there, and Hope Lange starts having these visions of a past life where a bunch of witches came and were congregating on her property, and she ended up snitching them out. She told the police the names of all the witches, or maybe not police at that point. It was like the 1600s, the local pilgrims. So she gave them up, and then in order to not be punished by the witches, she promised her soul to Satan. However, she made a little switch and gave up this little girl's soul instead. Well, guess what? That's the same little girl that appeared to this cousin whose car exploded. So overall, I would say there were parts of this movie where I was really into it, and then there were parts that were silly, and then there were parts that didn't make sense, and there were parts that were kind of incoherent, and the character development was like not consistent. Sometimes her husband was a real garbage person, and sometimes he was like fine. So I don't know, it was kind of a mess, really, this movie. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It's our third TV movie of 1970, the second one on ABC. The other one was that haunted house movie where there was just wind blowing through the house. That one was really bad, so this was better than that. We also had Robin Redbreast, the British TV movie, which was also kind of lame. So as far as TV movies goes, this is probably the best one of the year. I think this is the last one in 1970 that we're going to be talking about. So, but yeah, TV movie budgets were pretty poor back then compared to movie budgets. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Some other highlights here include, well, actually not a highlight, but the thing that really messed the movie up was the fact that this couple couldn't get pregnant. They adopt a girl. The girl ends up being that girl I mentioned before. And but later then she gets pregnant. The wife gets pregnant. And she finds out she's pregnant from the doctor, and the doctor says, don't tell your husband for a month because it may not like stay, like you may have a miscarriage. She tells him that night because he suspects her of cheating. He's a very jealous husband, which comes into play a few times in the plot. So he suspects her of cheating, so she says, actually, I'm not cheating, and we're pregnant. And then the next scene, she has the baby. And like, or maybe it's 2 scenes later, she has the baby right away. It makes no sense. They never show her pregnant, and it doesn't make sense. Like, the amount of time in the movie that elapses from the beginning to when she gets pregnant is like 1 week. And that's like the first half of the movie. And then all of a sudden she has the baby. Nothing else in the story seems to have changed. So that's really weird. Probably the most interesting part was when they take in this girl, they adopt her because she's living with her aunt, and then her aunt commits suicide. So they take her in. And there's this one part where the girl gets in bed with the husband and like starts kissing him. And I was like, wow, is this movie going to go there? Like that was crazy, but it didn't really go anywhere. I guess later she said she wanted to marry the guy, but he ended up committing suicide as well after he killed the guy who he thought his wife was cheating on. It's all just like thrown together in a big mess. So I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 because it held my attention. I didn't want to turn it off, really. It was only 74 minutes long, so it wasn't too hard to get through the whole thing. But that's it for Crowhaven Farm, okay? So that's kind of a short one, and we don't need to spend much more time than that on Crowhaven Farm. But ABC TV movie of 1970, I'm sure that for horror fans back then, the fact that you could see a horror movie on TV, a new one, was probably exciting. And you didn't have to go to the theater. This is all before VHS, so it's kind of cool to see a movie on TV. But that's it. See you next time.